Your avoidant ex cheated, or you can't shake the fear that they could cheat on you. And now your brain won't stop. Are all avoidants like this? Does their attachment style mean they will absolutely cheat on you? And if they've already cheated on you, will they do it again? Now, in this video, we're going to pull apart those questions. You'll see what avoidant attachment actually has to do with cheating, what to look for in your partner's behavior so you'll know what they're really capable of, and you'll learn how to know if this is someone you can safely trust again. Now, in a minute, I'll show you exactly how to tell which type you're dealing with using behaviors you can actually see. But right away, you have to understand what avoidant attachment really looks like. Now, if you want to deep dive into that, then check out the playlist linked here. But the important thing to understand right now is that it shows up in the way a person behaves when you notice the feelings and emotions between you are starting to grow stronger. And as that connection between you starts to deepen, it triggers subconscious beliefs and behaviors in them, which means for an avoidantly attached person, they feel a sense of unease and danger, one they can't quite explain, but are compelled to act on, which really means they regulate those feelings by disengaging. And that's exactly where the difference starts between an avoidant who quietly looks for an exit and an avoidant who will fight for the relationship. Some avoidants will begin to turn their awareness inward, as if quietly disappearing into a place of safety, where everything is closed off and stripped away from the world. Now, others use the same subconscious defenses outwardly. They look for other options, keep backup connections, or use cheating as a way to regulate that uneasy feeling that something bad is about to happen. Now, what this ultimately means to you is this: avoidant attachment alone does not determine cheating, but their choices and learned coping patterns do. So later I'll give you the 7 most reliable ways to spot those choices and patterns. But right now, if you're watching this, trying to analyze every detail and feeling like you're spinning out of control, then I'll link something below that helps you slow that process down before it takes over your life. Now, you don't have to use it right away, just know that it's there. So here's the real situation. There are plenty of avoidant partners who never go near cheating. Their partners don't find secret accounts or double lives, but the avoidant still withdraws from them. It's just in a different way. When things get hard, a non-cheating avoidant will usually go quiet or shut down instead of talking things out. They might minimize conflict. They might say, it's not a big deal, you're overreacting, can we just drop it? And you'll probably see them retreat into work, hobbies, or projects, anything that lets them be alone and feel in control, because they protect their autonomy by withdrawing, not betraying. Now, there are no absolute certainties in life, but here's how you can tell if your avoidant is more likely to be faithful. People with avoidant attachment styles often don't like being too emotionally close or dependent on others. But the ones who stay loyal and don't cheat tend to have a few key strengths. So I want you to pay close attention here. In day-to-day life, they have good self-control. You notice they can resist temptations and they think before acting. They manage their emotions well, so they don't make impulsive decisions when stressed or unhappy. They are usually responsible and disciplined, which naturally helps them stick to their commitments. Last and most obviously, they keep clear boundaries. They don't let outside emotional connections cross into romantic territory, not even a little bit. Now, avoidants like this need their distance, but do remain faithful because they value control, respect, and balance in their relationships. So, if they are avoidantly attached, but have worked on their attachment issues and have started to lean more towards a secure attachment style, then they can be extremely loyal, protective, and consistent in their relationships because their loyalty is built from conscious trust and hard won emotional safety. So let's talk about the avoidant ex who did cheat, or the one you're terrified will cheat. Because this is where most people misread what's actually happening. Just like the faithful avoidant, the same subconscious fears and beliefs drive them to pull away as this connection between you is growing stronger or more intense emotions are beginning to surface. Faithful avoidants manage that discomfort by pulling back, reflecting, or getting a little time and distance until they begin to feel safe again. Now, unfaithful avoidants, on the other hand, escape by seeking distractions through another person. They perceive their main relationship as emotionally overwhelming, the place where they feel triggered by the demands of a deeper, more open connection. However, an affair feels emotionally light. It provides shallow intimacy on their own terms without emotional accountability, depth, or the need to open up too much. And it's easy to leave if things get too real, which they almost always do. Later on, some of these avoidants resurface with messages that sound thoughtful but don't actually change anything. If that happens, knowing how to respond matters more than what you feel in the moment. Now, the difference between a cheating avoidant and a faithful avoidant is whether they've learned to handle that fear inside of themselves, or if they still need to outsource relief to someone else. So, just to be clear, the rule here is this: faithful avoidants pause, pull away, and regulate their emotions internally. Unfaithful avoidants run and distract. Both are responding to the same subconscious fear, but only one has learned to face it, which means the danger isn't that they pull away, it's what they do while they're gone. Now, what that really means to you is this: you can't predict cheating based on their need to pull away and have space. What predicts cheating is when that space becomes secretive or emotionally disconnected. Here's what that looks like to you in specific real world terms. They go from privacy to secrecy. All avoidants want privacy to self regulate. They'll say, I just need time to myself, or I'm turning my phone off for a bit. That boundary should be open, explained, and consistent. But a cheating avoidant turns privacy into secrecy. The boundary becomes a guarded wall. They change passwords, delete messages, or keep their phone face down around you without any real explanation. They conceal messages and lie by omission. You'll see them deflect, get defensive, or joke when you ask them about their social or digital lives. And they control access to their digital or social world to prevent explaining any and everything to you. Now, you'll also want to watch for how they use distance to reduce emotional intensity. All avoidants use distance to reduce emotional intensity, but ideally, they begin to feel calm, return, and the relationship stays functional. But for a cheating avoidant, that attachment becomes chronic disengagement. And what I mean by that is this: more and more they stay distant and withdrawn even after you've seemed to work things out. So, slowly or all at once, you might notice your conversations with them starting to shift to practical topics. There's no emotional sharing or curiosity about your life. And as that is happening, the avoidant begins to show less empathy or emotional response to your pain. You might notice physical intimacy with them starts to feel off, half hearted, or just fades away completely. Now, this is where it gets uncomfortable, and that's why it really matters. It's normal for someone with an avoidant attachment style to want to have their own space, like separate hobbies, alone time, or friends from work. And that's healthy when it's opened and balanced, which means you know what those spaces are and you're still included in their bigger life picture. But when an avoidant starts moving towards cheating, then that healthy separation ends and they start to compartmentalize their life, which in simple terms means they start splitting their life into separate worlds that don't touch. Here's what that looks like in everyday behavior. They suddenly have new friends, activities, or group chats that you've never heard of. You notice they seem more open, fun, or talkative around others, but quiet, withdrawn, or flat when they're with you. And if you bring up the distance, they act like you're overreacting or say you're being controlling. What's really happening underneath is that they're building a separate emotional world, one where they can connect freely without being open, without feeling vulnerable, and without experiencing this deeper connection that triggers those subconscious fears and beliefs. Now, you want to listen carefully to what they say. Do they downplay commitment? Do they say things like, no relationship lasts forever? Do they mock or roll their eyes at romantic gestures? Do they minimize betrayal, maybe jokingly say things like, it's not a big deal if it doesn't mean anything? Or do they call emotional closeness clingy or unrealistic? So it's not how much distance they need. It's what they do inside that distance that matters. Those are the shifts that research consistently links to avoidants who cheat. So, why do some avoidants cheat and others don't? And if they cheated, will they cheat again? Well, there are two paths avoidants can take when pulling away, and they are determined by how they learn to cope with their attachment style. Here it is in a nutshell. The faithful avoidant turns inward because at some point in their life, maybe a teacher, a friend, or a therapist showed them what calm, steady support feels like. That person didn't push or smother them, they just stayed stable and safe. And over time, this taught the avoidant that when I'm upset, I can take space, breathe, and I'll be okay. So now, as adults, they cope by turning inward. They pull away, they take quiet time, reflect, or focus on calming activities until they start to feel steady and calm again. Now, the key thing to understand about those avoidants is this: they have a certain insight. A part of them knows that chasing a new person or cheating would only bring the same old emptiness once the excitement fades. So instead of running outward for relief, they continue to turn inward to settle down and feel calm because they've learned that this is the only kind of safety that actually lasts. Now, For the unfaithful avoidant, they never had this kind of steady comfort growing up. The only time they felt seen or soothed was when someone suddenly gave them attention or approval, even if it was short lived, inconsistent, and lacked depth. So they learned, when I feel bad, the quickest way to feel better is for someone else to want me without too much emotional pressure. Which means as adults, they still reach for that same kind of relief. So instead of turning inward, they look outward, seeking attention, flirtation, or sometimes affairs to quiet that subconscious fear, that feeling of uneasiness that something bad is about to happen when they get too close to someone. So for them, attention feels safe even if it's temporary. Now, you've probably heard the old expression, once a cheater, always a cheater. But is it actually true? You're going to want to hear this next part clearly, so let me give it to you straight. This is the brutal truth. I know it's heavy, so let's slow this down and look at the facts. Some people change. Not everyone cheats twice, but prior cheating strongly predicts future cheating, regardless of attachment style. Across the board, statistically, studies show that anyone who cheats once is much more likely to do it again. In fact, they are about 3 times as likely to cheat again. I know that might sting, but it's important. And I'm telling you this because I want you to be okay, and knowing it can save you from being hurt. So let me be clear. Avoidantly attached people who use cheating to create distance or avoid emotional closeness are clearly more likely to cheat again, not just on you, but also cheat in their next or rebound relationships. And this is the moment where most people either ground themselves or spiral out of control, checking phones, watching stories, replaying everything in your mind. And if that's where you're at, then the no contact survival kit is designed for exactly this moment. It helps you relax and start to feel like yourself again. Now, as you're really starting to grasp how avoided attachment and cheating are connected, let's step back and put it all together. Because everything we've explored so far comes down to one simple truth. Avoidant attachment alone does not determine cheating. Cheating happens when an avoidant partner has emotionally checked out of your relationship. So, to tie it all together and wrap it up, here are the 7 most consistent, observable signs that your avoidant partner has emotionally checked out and is more likely to cheat. Conversations shrink to surface level. They stop sharing thoughts, opinions, or stories that matter. Talks become about logistics. What's for dinner? Did you pay that bill? You'll notice fewer we statements. When you bring up something emotional, they'll seem uninterested, dismissive, or tired. You feel their absence even when they're around. They might still come home, sit beside you, even watch a show with you, but it feels like they're somewhere else. Their responses are shorter, eye contact and small touches fade. When you talk, they're half on their phone or they seem distracted. They no longer initiate emotional or physical closeness. It's not just less affection, it's that they stop seeking it. You're the one initiating hugs, sex, deep talks, or plans. And when you try, they act passive or politely go along, but you can feel they're not really all there. They may even prefer time alone more often, and it feels like rejection rather than self care. Pay close attention to this one because emotional disengagement directly leads to exploring affairs, even if the avoidant hasn't cheated physically yet. They minimize or deflect relationship talks. Whenever you try to talk about feelings, distance, or connection, they shut it down. They say, I don't want to get into this right now. You're reading too much into things. Not everyone has to be so deep. Next, their energy shifts. They seem lighter and happier around others, but it feels flat and detached with you. They seem relaxed, funny, or fully alive around new people or friends, but withdrawn, disinterested with you. They might be extra social at work, but when they come home, they're quieter, distant, or irritable. They stop talking about the future. They don't mention we anymore. No more shared plans, goals, or vacations. And if you bring it up, they change the subject or make vague comments like, we'll see. This is critical because declining commitment is the strongest predictor of infidelity for avoidant individuals. And you'll feel emotionally invisible. This one's not about what they do, but about how you feel. You start noticing that you could cry, share good news, or sit in silence, and it doesn't seem to reach them anymore. That invisible wall, even when they're physically near you, is the hallmark of emotional disengagement, which means they've already detached internally and are far more likely to justify stepping outside of your relationship. Now, if this has helped you make sense of what's happening, let me know in the comments, and the next step that actually helps people the most is the video linked above, because it shows you what to do when you're no longer guessing and you need to protect your heart.